gentlemen, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for these devotionals. Today we are in Daniel chapter 11. I'm going to read verse 14, just one verse. It's a good one, but we got to remember where we are, right? So I'm not going to rehash the whole thing today, but you got to remember there's this angelic being explaining to Daniel numerous future events. He has explained hundreds of years of tension between Egypt in the south and Syria in the north. And before we read the following text, you got to remember that Daniel's childhood home was Israel. His home was actually sandwiched between these two warring nations. So I would assume, as all this is being explained to him by this angel, all he could think about was his childhood home, Israel. And then right at this moment, this angel tells him this. He says, "In those times, many shall rise against the king of the south, and the violent men from among your own people," that's his people, the people of Israel, Jewish men, "shall lift themselves up in order to fulfill the vision, but they shall fail." So this is a super important insertion here, because what this angel is prophesying is that followers of God are going to read this text. They're going to read Daniel 11, just like we are today. And because they're privy to the prophecy, they are going to insert themselves into the story. Maybe it's because they're growing weary of all the wars and all the waiting, right? Therefore, here's what they do. They mount an army that sought justice. Thus, they justified their actions with violence by reading themselves into the text as those who would save and reestablish the nation of Israel. And I think this little text here, verse 14, is so important for followers of Christ right now. It's a warning about many things. First, it's a warning about inserting ourselves into a prophecy that we're privy to, because we can do this too. This is the danger of all prophecy in the Bible, that God-fearing people who are given it know just enough to claim that we understand all of it, thus elevating ourselves in the story. Don't do this. You don't know it all. Do you know how you don't know it all? Well, Jesus said he didn't even know it all. In fact, in Mark 13, verse 32, Jesus said, "But concerning that day or that hour, no one knows." No one. Not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. So if Jesus doesn't know it all, then you don't know it all. So don't claim you know it all. Second, this text is a warning about justifying counteractions and violence under the claim of a vision given by God. I want you to know that I'm always weary of any man who claims that God gave them a vision. Right? I'm always kind of weary and suspicious of it, but I'm especially suspicious of the man who claims God gave him a vision and then justifies his actions based on that vision given by God to him alone. You know, justification is a dangerous business. And do you know how I know this? Because the Bible clearly declares that there is only one who justifies. Romans 8:33 states, God is the one who justifies. He's the one who does this. So when we justify counteractions or violence in an uprising against nations or governments, which is what happened here, we might want to check our motives because, well, we might be moving against God, which is what these God-fearing people did here and failed. Third, this text is a reminder and a warning that God is the author of the story. He's writing it. He knows how it ends, and we need to trust him. I know so many of us right now don't like how things are playing out, and I'm with you. I'm not too fond of everything that's happening in our world either, but we don't get to write the story. Daniel didn't get to write it either. He just wrote down the story that God told him because, well, God is the author of the story. That's because it's his story. He's telling it, and we need to trust him. So guys, I just pray this convicts you a little bit today. I don't know exactly where you're at with everything that's happening in the world, where you're at with this prophecy in this book right here, or any prophecy for that matter. But I know this: God is in control of all things. It's his plan, and we got to trust him. And so I pray that this has inspired you or convicted you in some unique way again to trust the author of all things with his story written in your life. I love you guys. I pray this blesses you. If it has blessed you, bless someone else with it. And I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.